Hello and welcome to Movers and Shakers. I'm Ken Miller. Today I am joined by Leavenworth County Commissioner Mike Smith. Mike, thanks a lot for coming by today.
My pleasure.
You didn't forget the way to get here. You've been here a few times. Yeah.
A few, yeah.
All right. So midsummer, and we're recording this in early August. Midsummer usually means local governments are finalizing their annual budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. As you all know, Lansing has been doing that.
Right.
I know the county is doing that as well. Much has been discussed about mill levies and the relationship with property valuation in the county. And if you watch any county commission meeting, you know you guys talk about that all the time,
Absolutely.
whether it's on the agenda or not.
That's right.
So talk about how this year's county mill levy came to be set, and I think it is set now. You still have to approve the budget. Is the levy set now?
There could still be some last minute changes, but I expect it's going to be the same mill levy as last year,
Okay.
which was down from the year before and down from the year before. So
Like a half a mil?
yeah,
Half a
it
mil?
was a quarter, then a half, and 3/4 last year, I believe.
Okay.
So it's been coming down, which it really tightens up our budget. But this year we sent out had the county administrator sent out a notice to all the department heads and elected officials, because we oversee their budget, that we asked them not to go over 4%. Because, even though it depends who you look, it's anywhere from 3.7 to 8% on what the cost of living's gone to.
Right.
So, and then, as usual, they came back with about $6 million over their last year's budget, which we just cut out. We just told them, met with them and told them we just can't do that. So the budget ended up being, it's going to be about 7% over what the 4, but really that's kind of deceiving, and I'll tell you why. All the other departments except public road and highways and bridges and prosecutor's office are under 4%. Mm-hmm. But what's happened in the last 10, 15 years, the bridges haven't been maintained. Mm-hmm. And there's over 100 bridges out in the county.
Yeah, Doug Smith makes that point a lot.
Yeah, and that's where he used to work. That was his division for 30-something years. But the cost of bridges have gone for up about 30%. I mean, just a year ago we were paying $900,000 for a bridge. Now it's 1.3. Mm-hmm. We got a choice to repair them or get them closed down. Right. So they went up the large portion. So if you take them out, we did stay 4%. But if you add them, then it's a 7% increase. But this is just one of those things that's a tough call. You pay me now and pay me later. And a lot of times before, they haven't been setting aside or biting the bullet and doing what it has to do for future elected officials. Right. So I think that's where we're going to be set. We've met with them. We've had a couple of conferences. We did things a little different this time. I always like to talk one-on-one with them, so we brought everybody in to sit down and
department
talk,
heads.
and elected officials, and ask them to talk about their budget to us. First of all, I want to get a clearer explanation on something. Second, it's on film. I want the public to know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Several years back, the county purchased the old Cushing Hospital, and now you've got folks moved in there, several county entities. The building was refurbed. How has that project turned out, and why do we hear so much conflicting information about costs associated with the rehabbing of that facility for county use? And I'm thinking, there's the parking lot, there's the building itself, and all that. It seems like it's now, is it filled with who you intended to put in there, and where are we at?
Okay, we've almost got it filled, but I'll go in there just a second. There's been a lot of misinformation, and sadly to say, it's been some from local representatives. Approximately $5 million, not $12 million, not $13 million, $5 million from the funds the federal government gave us and stated was what used to do it. The building was given to us, so, but even when you get something, it's never free.
Right.
So we had to do some remodeling and stuff. We brought Council on Aging and the Extension Office in and quit paying rent on those two individual properties, which saved the county about $100,000 a year at least, somewhere in that area. And then we rented out a section of it. And we've got another section, I believe, that we're close to renting out. And those two that are rented, or that area that's being rented, will pay for the maintenance that the building sees. Now, there were some improvements. We thought, we could get it $3.5, $4 million, but there's a lot of things that have been done. We had a lot of sewer issues. We had to get the parking lot redone. But now we've got a lot of the county folks and the things that they do for the citizens located in one facility. And that's still subject to change. We still could bring someone else in over there, but right now that's the way it's set up. The information that was put out, Ken, that keeps being put out is just incorrect. And I've asked on more than one occasion for those 2 local reps, and it's not all of them,
Mhm.
but a couple of the local reps, to come in and talk to us and talk to the county administrator, but they've chose not to do. But bottom line, people know me. It was around $5 million that we put into it.
Okay, all right. The local ad valorem tax reduction, commonly known as LAVTR, that's still a hot topic, and I know Commissioner Jeff Culbertson has done a lot of work on that issue. He brings it up every so often at your county commission meetings. It appears now that local governments may be considering a lawsuit against the state of Kansas for withholding this revenue from counties for, I think it's been more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And you dealt with this both as a city administrator, as the mayor of Lansing, and now as a county commissioner.
Yeah.
And I know it's a little bit complicated, but if you can give a brief explanation of what LAVTR is, and then where the county stands when it comes to trying to get the state to pay up. And there are other counties, I think, involved with that potential lawsuit as well. Right.
Absolutely. And this is one of the problems. It's so confusing unless you backtrack and you know what state statute to go to, because the ad relief, basically, from property tax is a law. Mm-hmm. It's a law that should be followed. But LAVTR is currently supposed to transfer 3.63 of state sales and use tax to cities and counties. And then we call it now, after years went by, you call it demand transfers,
right,
which gave them the opportunity to push it forward. And you're absolutely right, Ken. My first year, we lost, my second year as a city administrator in Lansing, we lost $60,000. And that's over 20 years, something years ago. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine what that value is today. But we're not the only one. It affects counties and cities. Now, this spring I went to, this spring I went to Hayes, where they had the Association Kansas Commissioners. Mm-hmm. And they gave me the opportunity to speak, me and Commissioner Stevens out there, on this issue. I was amazed that of the 67 counties that were represented there, only about 4 or 5 knew what I was talking about. And what's happened is over the years, people just forgot about it. And some elected people don't even know it's out there. I've had representatives that I have had to chat with about, do you know what this is? And they really didn't even have a clue. Because it's been neglected for over 20 years. Right. Now, this year, Commissioner Culbertson and the Leavenworth County Commission has made an effort to meet with our director, our executive director for the county commissions, and also we're trying to team with the League of
Kansas municipalities, exactly, the cities and the counties.
Exactly.
Right.
And we've been getting a lot of contact. We may take the lead on this, but what we're asking is, and I want to go back to a second, because I know this can be confusing, Ken, to everybody watching. But what we're asking now and what's being done is our group, our counties and our cities are making tapes, information that we're being putting out on radio, hopefully even on TV and other places, to educate the citizens, because the county commissioners and the council members across this great state cannot get this by themselves, because we bring it up and then we get neglected. Mm-hmm. So everybody's up for election in 24.
Right.
All Senate.
That's the time to do it. Yeah.
So we've made it very. We're telling people now, and if you're running for office, or you haven't supported it, and we've had some support in our own county, but it's never passed. One of the questions you're going to be asked, and it's a yes or no answer. Mm-hmm. Yes or no. Do you support putting back the demand transfers or the local ad valorem tax, or don't? And if you say, well, I'm thinking about it, to me that's a no, and I'll guarantee you I'm not going to support you on that. Right. The other issue is, once that gets out, people need to talk and ask more questions about it. But I think it's something that's very interesting, and I know you've heard it, Ken, because you're in the business of doing that. But this is a state statute. Mm-hmm. This is a law. How can you be in Topeka making laws? You don't follow your law. You expect all the citizens in the state to do it. Now, come on. You make a law, enforce it, right, or get rid of it. And they could go and get rid of it if that's the case. Right. But if they don't, there's a talk of a lawsuit. And what that would, and that's the last thing I want to do, Ken. Absolutely last. But you may force a hand. Now, if you remember, schools years ago did that, and I'm not saying that was right or wrong, but when they went, the state lost, and we don't want to go that direction. But if you're going to not reinforce that, because get that funds back to us, because Ken, that money is law, and it's set to. It's called property tax relief, and that's what it goes to. We could be revenue neutral if we had this money coming back. So Topeka, listen to us, because I'm sure there's a lot of citizens that are going to.
And if you look at the timing, because the state is running at a surplus that we've never seen
Absolutely,
before,
Ken.
and a lot of it has to do with the federal money that came in for COVID recovery
Right.
and all that. But really, if it doesn't get done in '24, I don't see it getting done, because everything is working towards the
It's
ability
a
of the
perfect
state
timing.
legislators and the governor to sign if it takes something,
Yeah.
an act like
Yeah.
that. They've got the money. You can't argue that we're too poor to do this.
Over $2 billion in surplus.
Right,
So,
exactly.
exactly,
Okay.
Ken, thank you.
All right, let's talk a little bit about development. The county is, and you've said this, and other county commissioners I've talked to have said this, and to be fair, county commissioners before the current crop was in the courthouse have always said, we want to be small business friendly. We
Right.
want to help small
Right.
businesses. So in the 3+ years that you've been on the county commission, can you give us some examples or tell us how is the county becoming more small business friendly, at least since you've been over there?
Yeah, I think about a year ago, and it took me a little time, because counties and cities, which I was part of for so many years, are definitely different in the way they handle things. But one of the first things I saw is that for the economic, for our county, we don't have a plan. But there's never been a plan, not even LCDC or anybody had one. So what we did, and LCDC, and I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, weren't too happy. We took some of their funding and we brought in Tom Cole as our economic director. Now he does a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't see to get cities and counties talking, and also to keep us informed. But and he does a great job in that. He's about to finish up on our plan. But the other thing is, we've cut back. As a lot of people know, I didn't, but John Jackson came in, started working for our planning division, which has made a big difference over there in how we do business because of all his experience. Of course, he had a lot of time with Lansing and a couple other places. But what has happened is we've streamlined the process of how you go and get assistance. Special use permits are big in the county. And
Right.
basically what that is, you run a business off an area that's not really designed to do that. And we don't want to stop people from doing it, because first of all, it generates sales tax and it helps everybody. But we have to be careful that we don't infringe on the neighbors to the left or right, or offset where our comprehensive plan says. John's been able to walk through some. We've had a few meetings already that we're changing some rules that'll make it easier. But there's a lot of things now that the planning commission, which is an arm of our branch, can prove, and doesn't have to come to us, and that's helped it. County's behind on a lot of things compared to our surrounding counties, but I can tell you, I see that changing. I see a lot more professionalism. Not that there wasn't before, but I just see it's taking another step and things like that.
Right. You mentioned Tom Cole and the economic development plan. When is there going to be a plan that I can read?
I would think it's taken a little longer than I thought, but he had to meet with all the cities, and I don't know if he met with you or I know he met with Tim Vandal and Paul Kramer and stuff like that. We're hoping that's coming up here before the end of the summer.
Okay.
And it may be on Mark's county administrator's desk, and I just hadn't seen it.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's also discuss, and you brought this up, the county's relationship with the Leavenworth County Port Authority and Leavenworth County Development Corporation. It's no secret that at times these quasi-public groups and the county have not always viewed economic
Right.
development the same way.
Right.
Again, if you haven't watched county commission meetings, either attended them in person or watched them on YouTube, you really need to. I mean, I think you get a lot of background on what's going on locally.
Right.
If you put in the time, not just one or two times, but
You got to follow it.
follow months, if not years.
Yeah.
Right. So how is the relationship now between the county? You mentioned that the county has hired Tom Cole. He's been there, I think, a couple of years now. You've still got LCDC. I mean, we just talked with Lisa the other day,
Yeah.
the business coming
Does a
in
good
Lansing.
job.
Right. How is that relationship, and what can you say to people to say we don't have competing interests here trying to do the same thing? They're working in tandem as opposed to working against each other.
I think a couple things first. When I got on the board, being a past mayor and city administrator, there was always tension and problems about funding, the funding formula, how we did it. It's improved over the years, but there was always an issue, what have you done for me? And so when I got there, I thought we need to have a set of meeting. As a chair, I organized a meeting with the help of the county commissioners and the parties involved. We met for 4 or 5 months. We got some things accomplished, but really there was a resistance on some of the things. And nobody's at fault. It was just resistance how we do things. So that's when we took half the funding and gave it to make the economic director. Now, they brought in Lisa, who's there, and she does a great job for what she's dealt with. But we've asked Tom Cohen, as I mentioned before. He's behind the scenes. He attends all the meetings. He helps where he can. One of the issues we're having, though, is the county commissioners pay the highest price for paying the bills. Our every year what we give them, and we'd like to have more representation on it. And I don't mean we want to take over the board or anything like that. A good example, when they brought in the big building, the big store down in Tonganoxie Road. That road needs to be improved. We were not aware of that until after it had been taken, and what we found out later, and we've met with Tonganoxie, is that because a lot of that road's theirs and some of it's ours, is no one talked to us about funding for that. And so we've got to figure a way to fund that, because you have thousands of employees out there.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that we're trying to get to say, listen, we're not trying to get in your business. You do it. You got a lot of great people on those boards, but you got to keep us in the loop. If you don't, then you can't expect us to be doing that. The other thing is, we recommended to them a year ago, and I'm pushing strongly still for it. When you sell a spot in one of the parks that we have, industrial parks, put a little thing on there that says the cost is going to be 10% higher, or take 10% of that and put it back in your coffer, LCDC, so you don't have to come to the cities and the county asking for more and more money. You should be, I'm not saying you should be self-reliant, but you should be able to pay a lot of this on your own. Don't just do it and sell it. We're on a roll here as far as bringing in large businesses, but now's the time to say that if you get 10% of a thing that you're doing, you put a couple of $100,000 back in, that's a lot of money for LDC and Port Authority. So I think we're moving towards that. I'm going to keep doing that. There's still some hard feelings on the county commission about the Port Authority and LCDC. I believe in them. I just think we still need to get together and fix some areas we've got.
When you're saying put 10% back in, you're talking about based on when you have a success.
Exactly.
When something is going to a business is going to locate here.
And they've
Big,
purchased it.
small, in between.
Exactly.
Right. You're saying a little surcharge there that would then help fund LCPA or LCDC.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. Lastly, let's discuss the current county commission and how the 5 commissioners get along. Again, I watched the videos, so I can speak to this because I've witnessed it.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Okay. So it's definitely different from the commissions of the early 2010s when we only had 3 commissioners at that time. How would you characterize the relationships you have with the other commissioners and how they get along with each other? And I would say, you were the commission chairman for a long time. You recently moved off, and I think Vicky Cos, Commissioner Cos, came to be the commission chairman. You almost had to look like a ringmaster at the circus, keeping some people from getting a little too out of control. And I joke, but maybe only halfway.
Yeah.
Talk about the relationships.
Ken, you're absolutely right. It's like when I came in there, I met with all the county commissioners before I was sworn in, so I was allowed to do it, and told them, certain things I do. And I didn't know I was going to be chairman at the time. But when people come into our house, we need to treat them with respect. We also need to treat each other with respect. And if that doesn't occur, I will tell you in so many ways I will try to control that. And that's what I try to do. I think going back to 3 to 5, I don't really think Lansing, and I'm a Lansing homeboy. Spent all my career here, my adult life, and all my district is Lansing, along with Delaware, part of High Prairie, a little bit of Leavenworth. Lansing is the majority of my thing.
Right.
And the Leavenworth County Commissioners never had anyone out here doing that. I mean, we've had people represent, but they also represent their city. By going to 5, each county commissioner has a city, incorporated city they represent. And so I think that's helped quite a bit. Good example, when I came on after the first 6 months, there's other cities have been getting a large amount of money off our sales tax from the county. And I said, well, Lansing's never received anything. So they approved, and the county commissioner supported it, and we brought a check for $240,000 to help with McIntyre and some water problems or sewer problems. So that went well. But you're absolutely right. When I got there were some hard feelings between a couple of county commissioners, and still now there is. But one thing I won't accept is anybody attacking somebody in the audience or another county commissioner, and the county commissioners know that from me. I told them that I'm going to make a decision on basis what I think is right for the entire county, even though I'm the Lansing rep. We're going to go from there, but I will never attack you. You've got your opinion, I've got mine. And we still see that happening a little bit, but I hope I reduce that down quite a bit, because I had to call a couple county commissioners out and they weren't happy with me. But still, they got the point that we're not going to do that. You know, if we can't work well together, how do we expect other people to do it? And there have been some decisions I totally disagreed with, but you know, it's majority votes on it, you move on. Now, as far as the county commissioners one-on-one, I think they all believe what they're doing, and I think they've got their heart in the right direction. And so I get along very well with all of them, I believe, unless they tell you different. But I also think there's room for improvement, and I see that the county has got so much opportunity as long as we play nice together, and that means if everybody can,
Right.
and that will help.
And that's and I know you realize this, but since we're on video here, it's so you broadcast the meetings live, and then obviously you can go to YouTube later after the meetings and see the interactions there. And I think it concerns me. I think it would concern you, especially since you're sitting in the middle of that when you're trying to broker deals, whether it's Tom Cole, whether it's LCDC and LCPA, the county commissioners themselves, you're trying to broker deals to bring business in, and those people, if they're doing their research, they're watching these meetings, and they see some of the fireworks that go on. That's not good for the county.
No, it absolutely. And I hope that we've gotten better at it. There's way to go, and it's still, you know, the good old boy days are gone. And not to say that the past county commissioners didn't do a great job, but we're in the Kansas City metropolitan area. We need to step up to plate and be professional. Now I think we're getting there, and I think we all, including myself, maybe get sideways once in a while. But I hope in the last year we've gotten better. But still, there's some things that we try to address and make it better. But you're right. People are looking at us. Why would we want to move there if you folks can't get along, or the next county commission comes in is going to change their mind on that?
Right.
You can't do that. I'm not part of that. But again, I'm only one member, and we try to do the best we can. But the county commissioners, believe me, they're coming along. They're doing the best they can. They're stuck in some of their values, which I respect, and a lot of them I agree with. But every once in a while, we get sideways.
All right. I've been speaking with Mike Smith. He's a Leavenworth County Commissioner representing Lansing. For Movers and Shakers, I'm Ken Miller.